Stop for a moment. Do not scroll away yet. There is a reason these words found you at this exact moment, because what you are about to hear may feel strangely personal. Almost as if someone has been standing quietly beside your thoughts, watching every emotion you tried to hide, every question you never asked aloud, and every secret you buried beneath a smile. You have been wondering how anyone could possibly know what is happening inside your mind. You have been thinking thoughts you have never spoken. You have been carrying questions that have never reached your lips, and somehow, something is about to put words to the feelings you thought belonged only to you, because the truth is, your mind has been louder than your voice, and the things you have tried hardest to hide have been revealing themselves in ways you never noticed. You thought you were simply tired. You thought you were overthinking. You thought you were imagining connections that were not really there. But what if there has been a deeper reason for the strange feeling following you lately? What if that sudden pause in your heart, that unexplained memory, that person who keeps appearing in your thoughts, and that quiet feeling that something is about to change are not random at all? Stay with this, because there is something about your inner world that is about to be revealed, and once you recognize it, you may finally understand why you have felt so different lately. You have become very good at hiding. You learned how to answer, "I'm fine," when you were anything but fine. You learned how to laugh when your heart was asking for comfort. You learned how to remain silent when there were thousands of words moving through your mind. You learned how to walk away while secretly hoping someone would stop you. You learned how to say, "It doesn't matter," when it mattered more than you wanted anyone to know. And perhaps the most surprising thing is that you became so skilled at hiding your feelings that sometimes even you forgot how much you were carrying. But there is a part of you that has never forgotten. There is a quiet place inside you where every unanswered question still lives, every moment you replay, every conversation you wish had gone differently, every name that still changes the rhythm of your heartbeat, every dream you pretend you no longer care about, every future you secretly imagine before immediately telling yourself to be realistic. It is all still there, and lately, that hidden part of you has been waking up. That is why certain memories suddenly feel stronger. That is why a song can unexpectedly stop you in the middle of your day. That is why a familiar name can appear somewhere and make your heart react before your mind has time to understand why. That is why you sometimes stare into the darkness at night and wonder whether someone else is thinking about you at that exact moment. And perhaps you have wondered something even deeper. How can someone seem to know you without you telling them anything? How can a person look into your eyes and somehow notice the emotion behind your silence? How can someone say one simple sentence and touch the exact wound you have been protecting for years? How can a connection feel familiar even when you cannot explain where that familiarity came from? You have probably asked yourself these questions quietly, but you may not realize that the answers have been appearing around you in small signs, subtle moments, unexpected encounters, and strange coincidences that you kept dismissing because accepting them would force you to confront what your heart already suspects. You have been trying to convince yourself that you are imagining too much, but what if you are not imagining the feeling? What if you are simply becoming more aware of something you were once too distracted to notice? There is a difference between fantasy and intuition. Fantasy demands, intuition whispers, fantasy tries to convince you, intuition simply waits, and lately, something inside you has been whispering. You may have felt it while waking up, you may have felt it while driving, you may have felt it while standing alone in a crowded room, you may have felt it when everyone around you was talking, laughing, and moving forward, while suddenly you became completely still inside. For one brief second, everything became quiet, and in that silence, you felt something, not a voice, not a clear answer, just a feeling, a strange certainty that your story is not finished, that something has been unfolding beneath the surface, that someone may understand you more deeply than you realize, and that your current circumstances are not the final version of your life. You have spent enough time believing that what you cannot see does not exist, but some of the most important things in your life have always begun invisibly. A seed grows beneath the soil before anyone sees the flower. Morning begins beneath the horizon before sunlight touches the sky. Healing begins inside the heart before anyone notices the smile returning to your face. And sometimes love begins long before anyone has the courage to call it love. You may be entering one of those invisible beginnings. That is why this moment feels different. You are not simply searching for information. You are searching for confirmation. You want to know whether the feeling inside you means something. You want to know whether the person you keep thinking about is thinking about you too. You want to know whether the distance between two hearts is really as permanent as it appears. You want to know whether the future you secretly imagine has any chance of becoming real, and perhaps you are afraid to admit how much you want the answer, because wanting something gives it the power to hurt you. You already know that. You have experienced disappointment. You have waited, you have hoped, you have watched certain people leave, you have watched doors close, you have trusted timing that did not make sense, you have told yourself to move on while a small part of you continued looking backward, and now something unexpected is happening. You are beginning to realize that moving forward does not always mean forgetting. Sometimes moving forward means understanding what happened. Sometimes it means releasing the version of yourself that believed you had to become emotionless to survive. Sometimes it means allowing yourself to feel again without demanding an immediate answer. And sometimes it means realizing that the person you have been waiting for is not the only mystery, because there is another person you have been waiting for your entire life. You, the version of you who no longer begs to be chosen, the version of you who no longer confuses uncertainty with love, the version of you who no longer chases what keeps running away. The version of you who can finally sit in silence without feeling abandoned, the version of you who can love deeply without losing yourself. That person has been forming quietly inside you, and perhaps that is the real reason everything feels different now. You are changing, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. You are becoming less interested in appearances and more interested in truth. You are becoming less impressed by words and more sensitive to energy. You are becoming less willing to accept half-hearted connections. You are beginning to notice what people do when they think you are not watching. You are noticing pauses, glances, silences, changes in tone, unexpected kindness, distance that suddenly becomes closeness. Closeness that suddenly becomes fear, and one particular connection may have been confusing you more than anything else, because it does not behave like an ordinary connection. There are moments when you feel incredibly close, then suddenly there is distance. There are moments when everything seems obvious, then doubt returns. There are moments when you believe you finally understand what is happening, then something changes, and you are left wondering whether you imagined the entire thing. But what if the uncertainty itself is part of the story? What if two people can feel something powerful and still be afraid of what that feeling means? What if someone has been fighting their own emotions just as fiercely as you have been fighting yours? What if the silence you interpreted as indifference was actually hesitation? What if the distance you interpreted as rejection was actually fear? And what if the person you thought had forgotten you has remembered more than they ever admitted? You cannot know another person's private thoughts with certainty, but you can recognize patterns, you can recognize consistency, you can recognize when someone's behavior carries a meaning their words refuse to express, and sometimes the most revealing moment is not what someone says, it is what happens immediately after they say it. Think about that. Think about the conversations that felt strangely unfinished. Think about the moment someone looked at you and then looked away too. Quickly, think about the message that seemed ordinary but arrived at an unusually meaningful moment. Think about the person who disappeared and then somehow found a reason to return. Think about the name that keeps crossing your path when you were finally trying to stop thinking about it. You may have called these things coincidences, maybe some were, but perhaps not all of them were meaningless. Perhaps some were invitations to pay attention, not because destiny is forcing you toward a particular person, but because life sometimes uses ordinary moments to reveal extraordinary truths about you. And there is something else you need to understand. You have been asking, who can read my mind?